In Nigeria, if the presidential election is forthcoming, the whole candidates will go to London, Chatham House, to tell them what they want to do for their people. I see that as so embarrassing.
It's a
and I
point of
don't really know.
correction, if you can allow me, Mr. Okocha. When they go there, they don't tell Britain what they want to do, for the people in Nigeria. But they go there because they can see in them, first of all, there must be a criminal record, like it or not. I know what I'm talking about. Secondly, they can see in him this seed of being able to sell the country out. That treacherous mind, like he can be used against his own color. That is when he'll be told what to do. Actually, he's there to take an oath. That is the first oath right there. Before what they always show us after the elections, like the president is being sworn in or something like that. All those are the lies. So that was just my point of correction, Mr. Okocha. They don't go there to tell what they want to do for the people, but they go there to be told what they have to do for that dream called Nigeria. That's clear. And the moment they agree, then they nominate them as president. While as people, as ignorant as we are, we think that we are voting, but only to see that we're just showing the world that there is this kind of democracy exists in our countries. Yet, because the country does not exist, so there's no ground for democracy. Westerners say that Nigeria should be the way it is, including Biafra, including these Fulanis, whatsoever. Who are you to come and take it out without facing any trouble? Because you are trying to change the sequence of a dream, of which you are not a dreamer, of which even the dreamer himself cannot change. That is to say that somewhere, Mr. Okocha, people should just take it easy. If you want sudden change in Africa, through referendum is a challenge. Through elections, we don't elect. The only option remaining is to go through coup. We need coup d'etat in Africa, provided that the leader of that coup must not take us back to democracy, but he must come up with this ideology whereby we put in place a political system that will make the West weak in Africa. And that is to say that we're going back to our roots, such as the greatness of Africans. That's the fact right there, Mr. Okocha.
African presidents and leaders, including the president of Nigeria, Bola Tinubu, that they are not in charge of their country. So the message came as a surprise to so many people, and a lot of people wrote me that they needed more explanation to what he meant by African presidents are not in charge of their country. Recently, there is something that is going on in Nigeria now. There is a data community where 16 to 17 Nigerian military were killed. Some reports said 16, some reports said 17 soldiers were killed in that data community. What they went there to do, they said it was an peacekeeping mission. But I know there are more things to that, but that is not the story of the day. The story there is that the governor of the state went to Nigerian President Bola Tinubu and told him, please withdraw your military from Delta State and ask them not to lay siege on innocent civilians so that we can settle the dispute, settle everything, and also bring those people who killed the soldiers to book. Bola Tinubu, according to the news, told the soldiers not to kill the civilians again and so on and so forth. But his words was not respected. The soldiers, as I talk to you, are currently laying siege on that community. So that boils down to everything you were talking about. Is Tinubu really in charge of Nigeria? But not only that, there are other circumstances and examples I should give. But I would allow you to come and explain in details why you said that Tinubu is not in charge of Nigeria. Here with me is our regular guest, Gael Clavis Johnson, the author of Afro Democracy, the New African Order. You are welcome, Clavis.
Thank you, Mr. Okocha. It's a pleasure to be again with you today on this 23rd day of March.
Yeah,
it's a blessing anyway. So
thank you, sir.
Talking about Brother Tinubu, the last
so
time
you mean a democratic elected president is not in charge?
The last time there was a reason actually why I called him brother. I called him brother not in terms of age, because when we take the age wise, he's a father, he's a grandfather. But according to the skin color, that's why I say that I don't see it much better calling them presidents, but brothers, at least due to the fact that we are all blacks.
Okay.
And if I have to
Why?
bring it up again, why did I call them brothers instead of
Okay.
presidents? Because I believe that a president is the man taking the responsibility of his country seriously. Like the final words, it comes from him, perhaps together with his cabinet, with his government, and so on. But when it comes to African context, that's not the case. They don't have that power to be called president as such. So for that matter, I decided to call them brothers. Like
So you mean Tinubu doesn't have power to be president?
First of all, the man to have power must be elected, because the power is from the people. We vested our power in someone on his leadership and so on. So when we elect, that is when we can say like we've vested our power on something. But when it comes to the context of African presidents, we don't elect them. By the fact that we don't elect them, they are nominated by a certain Western entity. Therefore, they don't have power. Because if I am the one who's feeding you, then you don't have a word to tell me. If it is a Western entity who promoted them there, like, okay, go and lead or look after my farm, as I said it back then who are you to tell me what I have to do about whatsoever that is being produced, in my farm? You don't have that power. So
Clavis Johnson
does not have that power.
Okay, it's very difficult to just believe what you are saying to ordinary people. I might understand what you are saying. Some viewers will get what you are saying. But to the general masses who don't have the understanding of what is going on in African countries and in Nigeria specifically. So how would you explain this to the layman understanding that Tinubu is not in charge of Nigeria and most African presidents are not in charge of their country?
Well, here we're talking about the president. First of all, to be a president, you must be so in a certain country. When you take the African country as such, I explained that last time under the theories of tribalism, it does not exist. So if the country as such does not exist, where do we apply democracy? It must be applied within a certain country. That country does not exist, so there's no way we can apply. Actually, there's no ground to apply that democracy. First of all.
Very good. So, now, this is another statement. I will hardly let you finish. This is another strong statement that people might not be able to decode. You said Nigeria and so many African countries don't exist. Can you tell us what that means?
They don't exist. That is a strong statement for me. The way we call them, whether it's Ghana, Nigeria, whatsoever, those are just the names that were attributed to the dreams of the neo-colonists. Like the one from England called his dream Nigeria, Ghana, whatsoever. The one from France called his dream Senegal, Ivory Coast, whatsoever. So those are the names they gave to those dreams. Like, I want my dream to be this way concerning a certain landmass called Nigeria. So that's it. But talking about the existence of African countries, there are no such. We don't have any ground where we can say that this is my country. This is where I can apply democracy, and that is when we can establish the presidency. That is not, however, established by us. And also, this is the man we can call the president of the country, because if from the beginning there's no country existing, so how come are you called president of the republic of a certain country that is non-existent? That is misleading to us. There's no way that we can call such a president of the republic.
What is the consequences?
It's not possible.
Okay, what are the consequences of what you are saying? How does that affect us as people?
But we are lost. We are lost as a race. If I can put it clearly, we are lost socially, politically, economically as a race, because we've been fighting socially to restore democracy, democratic orders in our countries. We say in our countries, yet we never ask ourselves which countries we want this democratic order to be restored into. If the country does not exist, so we are fighting for democracy in the emptiness, I can say that. We will not succeed in that fight. You see, it's like you're trying to build a house on the sand instead of building that on the rock. Some of us Christians, we know what does it mean. So we are trying to build a country that does not exist. That is just the dream of the neo-colonist. Let's just take it in the context, in the normal context of a dream. I got a dream, I tell you that dream, and then you come here and say that, okay, I want to build a house on top of your dream. So that dream, it's my dream. Even myself, I cannot change anything about that dream. And you come further and saying that I'm a Pan-Africanist. I'm the opposition leader. I'm this and that, and I would like to change that dream, into a developing country or a developed country in Africa. How is that possible? How can you make it? How can you really make it happen in that context? There's no way. There's no way, because you don't have grounds of development in that context. So the consequence to that is that we are lost as a race, as a black race. If you want to succeed in this, we have first to question what is our country. That is taking us back to the theories of tribalism. That's clear.
Clavis Johnson, what indeed is our country? If Nigeria is not our country, Ghana is not our country, Uganda is not our country, Burkina Faso is not our country, what is this country all about, and what is our country?
I'll give a short example about this situation here. We are in a country whereby you see a tribe or an ethnicity in this country here, but it's also beyond the border in another country. That is to say, the way African so-called country were, created from by those Europeans, so on. So I'll take an example of a certain tribe, like in Nigeria, that is also existing beyond the border. Now, if you take the context of traditional leaders in this country and in another country, they'll be saying that we are one people. We have a common ancestor, a common ancestors as such. So it is easy for those people to understand each other, even though there is a borderline from the West separating them. But the very same people in the same country don't get along with different tribes. They are sharing the same nationality, the same passport whatsoever. So how is that possible that they can recognize their brothers who are beyond the borders in another country due to the fact that they have common ancestors, but they don't recognize their so-called countrymen who are from a different tribe but in the same republic? That is to say that from our DNA, we acknowledge a certain existence from the root of humanity concerning black people, that the one on the other side that I'm having the common ancestors with, that is the group of the people I can form a country with and be called one with one political ideologies, because we are one from the beginning before the borderline from the West was imposed on us. But those we are so-called in the same republic, we don't get along, we kill each other, we fight, we do this or that. So how come we can call that as a country where we don't get along with them? So the country actually, it's not as the republic as we're told. That's a lie. The African country is from its ethnicity, from its root.
God bless you, Mr. Clavis.
Right there.
God bless you. There is something you said right now that got me emotional. You said that we have brothers that we can accommodate, live together, speak the same language, the same culture, but they are beyond the border of our countries. And the border does not recognize them as our brothers. We don't have the same passport. But there are people around us in the same border, the same geographical place called so-called country, and we can't cohabit with them. This is the problem we have in Africa. Before I will let you go further, I want to bring you back to the reason why we see that there is no civil war in Europe anymore. The other day I was telling you that the Dutch countries include the Germany, the Holland, that is the Amsterdam or Netherlands, include the Belgium, include Luxembourg, include Austria. All these countries are supposed to be one country. Upon they have the same culture, but they just have some things that differentiate them. They parted away and formed their own country. Why? Because they want to have a unilateral or people that are homogeneous. So I am so confused right now, because the people we call our brothers in the same country, we don't share things in common. So is that the reason why you said these countries does not exist?
We don't exist as countries because as people within, we don't have the same cultural roots, we don't have the same values, we don't have the common ground in politics. How then can we come together and build what we so-called a country? There's no way. The white men put us in that condition because they didn't want us to build a country. and grow up stronger. They did that on purpose. I keep saying that in the period of rising above hate, like I don't want us Africans hating one another, despite whatever is going on in our countries. But going above that hate feeling, I believe that if today you take a French citizen, Italian citizen, whatsoever, that citizen, put them in one country within a common border, put them together, and elect a leader from any of that as the president of the republic, they will end up fighting.
Before you elect them, there will be crisis before the election. Before you elect them, there will be crisis.
That's it. So that is the context we're finding ourselves in Africa. They took someone from a certain country that was erased from the history of black people, another group, another ethnicity over there, and they put them together. That is to say, like they put someone from England, from France, from wherever, and they put them together in the context of Africa, and they call them as a country called Nigeria. That is just a dream. But they knew that we'll never get along. They knew that we'll never understand each other. And they knew by putting us in that situation, we'll never talk about development. They will just, set us back. That is the country system right there. So it was done intentionally to set us back so that we cannot rise as great in terms of race, in terms of economy, in terms of ideologies or whatsoever. So that was the dream of the white man, and he called that, in this context here, Nigeria. Then here comes a political opponent who will be claiming like, I'm capable to change Nigeria into a developed country. So if I have to change, or if I have to explain that statement, it's like someone saying like, your dream you got last night, I'll be able to change it, not to make it real, but to change the narrative, the sequence of that dream into something else. Like if in that dream I fell off a tree, and then you'll be saying like, I will change that, you won't fall off the tree, you'll fall off a cliff or something like that. How is that possible? A dream is a dream. When I woke up, I say I dreamed and then I fell off the tree. That's it. No one can change that. Even myself, the dreamer, cannot change that. So
of course.
Westerners say that Nigeria should be the way it is, including Biafra, including these Fulanis, whatsoever. Who are you to come and take it out without facing any trouble? Because you are trying to change the sequence of a dream of which you are not a dreamer, of which even the dreamer himself cannot change. That is to say that somewhere, Mr. Okocha, people should just take it easy. If you want sudden change in Africa, through referendum is a challenge. Through elections, we don't elect. The only option remaining is to go through coup. We need coup d'etat in Africa, provided that the leader of that coup must not take us back to democracy, but he must come up with this ideology whereby we'll put in place a political system that will make the West weak in Africa. And that is to say that we're going back to our roots, such as the greatness of Africans. That's the fact right there, Mr. Okocha.
Clavis Johnson, anyone listening to your idea about this Afro-democracy would like to continue to listen to what you are saying, because there is a message that is going to everyone's heart, going to everyone's bone, to the understanding of our problem. Because everything you are saying is the reason why we are where we are today. As I speak to you, the insecurity in Nigeria is something that the government cannot win. It is a proven fact that the government we have in Nigeria cannot win the war against insecurity. Right from, let me say, 2 decades ago, there have been this insurgency of Boko Haram, Fulani herdsmen, now the kidnapping.
That's really a lot.
Yeah, this insurgence is now holistic. Before, you could hear United Nations saying, oh, Northeast Nigeria is not good for tourism, you people should not go there. But right now, it is holistic. During the administration of Donald J. Trump, they designate Nigeria as second worst country that is being terrorized. So the problem is this. One of the president of Nigeria, General Sani Abacha, military ruler, says that he said that if there is any insurgent in any country and it persists more than 24 hours, meaning there is a government on that too.
That's clear.
Now, I want to ask you a question. Do you mean that the federal government of Nigeria are behind insecurity as said by this man?
Now I'll demonstrate it this way, Mr. Okocha. In order not to be like I'm pointing against my black brothers who are in that Nigerian federal government. I'm here for everyone. Black on blacks. I don't take that statement. You see. So here is a dream from Britain, and the name of that dream is Nigeria. So they established the presidency in a context whereby we have different ethnicities, knowing pretty well that we will never get along. They knew it very well. Or in the fact whereby major tribes will get along, there should be a minority tribe that is from a foreign land that they purposely put within a certain border to serve as time goes on as the hands that will sow this kind of trouble in the societies. Most African countries have that minority tribe that when you follow the history of that minority tribe, they are foreigners. But they've been put purposely within the border of a certain country, which is a dream, like in this context here in Nigeria, so that in the time whereby major tribes will start waking up, that minority tribe should be there to bring some kind of instability in every aspect of the society. That is a fact right there. Now, we are talking about the dream from Britain that is named Nigeria, that must be led by a certain British administration that is called the Presidency. Due to the fact that it is a black man country, they don't want to put a leader who's white, but let it be a black man that the people will
as a
not
proxy.
elect, but they will nominate that person.
As a proxy.
Has criminal record. Okay, you saying something?
I said as a proxy.
That's
a proxy government.
That's it. That's clear. So let him be there, like just fronting for the white man. So he has to do everything in the way to satisfy the dreamer. So the moment he tries to go out of the line, the British embassy in Nigeria right there is there to watch every move. I keep saying that Western embassies in Africa are there to spy on us. They are there to put pressure on the presidency. Like, do as you were told. Otherwise, we are calling the headquarters. That is that is Great Britain. Like, you are not following the orders. When you look at the Western embassies in our countries in Africa, they serve as a parallel government to the established governments in our countries. So when the president is there just fronting for Britain, he gets orders from the British. And for that matter, the government is there not representing us, but representing Great Britain. When we take the context of Brother Tinubu as such, as a black man, I'm saying this, he can end that insecurity within a week or less, as black to black valuing life. He can end it in no time if he's a free leader as such. But because it has been demonstrated that he's not free as a leader, whatsoever he has to do must satisfy the heart of the dreamer, which is Great Britain here. Whatever you can tell him cannot succeed. That is to say, to support the statement of that military leader of Nigeria said here, or General Abacha, that when it is persisting over 24 hours or more, the government is behind that. So in this context here, it is not the federal government as such, because that government is not established for the people. But it is Britain, let me put it clear, behind that, through the government that has been established. Otherwise, if it's only for black on blacks, Brother Tinubu and all those generals in the army will stop that nonsense in no time. But they are there not to serve the people, but to serve the West. That is where all these things must keep going on. It is now. It is a dream being followed up.
Here is another puzzle that you have to explain. In Nigeria, if the presidential election is forthcoming, the whole candidates will go to London, Chatham House, to tell them what they want to do for their people. I see that as so embarrassing.
It's a bit of correction, if you can allow me, Mr. Okocha. When they go there, they don't tell Britain what they want to do for the people in Nigeria. But they go there because they can see in them, first of all, there must be a criminal record, like it or not. I know what I'm talking about. Secondly, they can see in him this seed of being able to sell the country out. That treacherous mind, easily he can be used against his own color. That is when he'll be told what to do. Actually, he's there to take an oath. That is the first oath right there. Before what they always show us after the elections, like the president is being sworn in or something like that. All those are the lies. So that was just my point of correction, Mr. Okocha. They don't go there to tell what they want to do for the people, but they go there to be told what they have to do for that dream called Nigeria. That's clear. And the moment they agree, then they nominate them as president. While as people, as ignorant as we are, we think that we are voting, but only to see that we're just showing the world that there is this kind of democracy exists in our countries. Yet, because the country does not exist, so there's no ground for democracy. That was my point of correction, Mr. Okocha. I'm sorry.
Wow. All right, Mr. Clavis Johnson, you talk about democracy in African way. In this context that we don't have a nation, let me call it a pseudo nation. We have a pseudo nation, a fake one that we call our nations all over Africa. And what you are saying now is not far from the truth. And I've come to believe it because I am talking about reality. I'm not talking about theories. This is practical. We are seeing that these countries, they are not working. Things are not moving in Nigeria. Nothing absolutely is working. Corruption everywhere. So, my question here is, how do we begin to change this? You know, before we talked about referendum, we talked about this, but there is no way we can do this without a sabotage. They will fight against you.
Yeah.
They will jail you. They will persecute you. They will charge you for treason. So what shall we do about all these things? What is the solution?
To make it clear, as we're saying here, he is somebody running for the presidency, but will travel to the West just to go and show his mind, like, I'm ready to serve you, to maintain your dream. That's the fact right there. And it would be like, okay, anyone who raise his hand against you will face the law. But I said it in our previous videos that the very same people who created our so-called countries, they knew that the African man is so stubborn, rationally, not in the bad way. They knew that he will rise up some other day to claim his right. So they put in our so-called countries a certain law that when there is this African speaking this language here, he must be condemned. He must face the might of the law whatsoever. He must be judged for treason whatsoever. So who put that law in our country? It is the West. It's the way to silence us, so that we will not stand and fight for what is ours. Now, in that context, I can still do that in my country. You can still do that in your country. Whoever can still do that in another country. All of us, we have that law. There's, in African country, almost no law where it says like when someone is speaking about his country, he must be free to express himself. Whenever you speak about the republic, they charge you for treason. Whenever you speak against the presidency, they charge you for treason. So that is our land, if you have to say that. That is our asset, if we have to say that as the people. So why must we not talk about it in a way that will suit all of us? If we are not allowed to do that, it's simply because that land does not belong to us. That presidency does not belong to us, but it belongs to the person who created that so-called country and made us believe that it is a country while it is not. Now, here I'll put it clear that we've been speaking about referendums in the way or the other, but you just said it here that there's no way going through without being persecuted. So what can we do to take us further?
Yeah.
Oh my, I wish I was in the army, but by the way, I don't know. If there are generals there who are really sons of the soil where they're coming from and they're in the army, let them stand up. And it doesn't just matter to be a general of the army or not. In Burkina Faso, there's no general there. In Mali, there's no general there as well. All it takes is this patriotic mind to stand up and fight for what is being stolen from us from the time they claimed this so-called republic to date. So why don't you stand up? I keep saying, and overturn all those so-called government that claim to represent the people, but they are representing the West in our countries. The first way to do that, I'm saying about the first way, is through a coup d'etat. is through a coup d'etat, provided that they are not going to kill the leader who's in place. Because Mr. Okocha, you see that president right there is also crying for help behind the walls of the presidencies. He's also crying for help. It's not easy for him to stand up right there, claiming that he has power in the presidency, but seeing people being killed while he's in the office. He's also crying for help, but we cannot see that. So let there be a hero that will come from the army to put that leader aside, not to kill him, not humiliate him, but just to put him aside and then change the political system in the way that will suit all of us, including even the Fulanis who are fighting for survival. Because what it takes is just a political system that is inclusive, and that is regionalism we're talking about here. And the next day, all these troubles, killings, kidnapping will stop. It will stop. You know, all the details are there in the book Afro Democracy in New African Order. I put it clear, as I keep saying, that is a lifetime book. As long as we are blacks, that book will still,
Yeah, I'll put the link on the description section, please. This book is a book that you would like so much. Please go to the description section, go through the book, just have a copy for yourself, and after reading it that you love it, recommend it to a friend. Clavis, Gael Johnson is the author of Afro Democracy, the New African Order. If you have been listening to this interview, there is no doubt that this book will be so sweet, because this book is coined, everything we have been saying now is coined out of that book, Afro Democracy, the New African Order. That book explains why African democracy cannot take us, sorry, the Western democracy on Africa. You see, I am calling it now African democracy because this thing has gotten into us. It is the Western democracy that was imposed on us. That is not the way of our life.